You guys are missing t-shirts and I'm missing a hat. Well, first of all, welcome Pipecat episode number 5. We haven't done any episode in a while.
It's been a while. It was 2025, I think.
So this is a special occasion because we just released Pipecat 1.0. Today we have the whole gang. So we have Paul and Filipi who haven't been in any episode, but we decided since it's a big deal that we just released 1.0 after 2 years and more than 100 releases, which is pretty insane, and a bunch of features. So we'll talk about the things we like about 1.0, the things we release, our favorite features, some challenges, and yeah, we'll start. I don't know, Paul, why don't you tell us what you like about 1.0?
One of the favorite features I worked on was probably ServiceSwitcher. I don't know how many listeners have used that.
Yeah. Where is it? What can you do with the service?
Yeah, what you can do is you can, like, at runtime, swap what service you're using. For example, I mean, it's not limited to LLMs, but you could, for example, switch between like using Anthropic or OpenAI or AWS or Google, just kind of on the fly, like mid-conversation.
And why would you want to do that?
Good question. One thing you might want to do is, if you find that like one service is, running a little bit slowly or is starting to like have some errors or something like that, and you just want to make sure that your service is not really like impacted by any sort of things that are happening upstream in the providers. I'd say like one of the coolest things was running. We have an example where it's like, every few seconds we just swap out a service for a different one. And it kind of feels like magic when you're actually talking to the bot, and then you're looking at the console, and it's like, okay, now we switched LLM service. Oh, now we switch like speech to text service, and it's like, as far as you're concerned, as the user talking to the bot, it's just seamless. It just keeps going.
What about challenges? What is the most difficult
I'd say
thing?
Actually getting that to work, switching dynamically between LLMs, requires that they all understand the same context, right? So you want to make sure that like whatever conversation you have been having with, say, OpenAI, you can just port that and have that and continue that conversation where you left off with Anthropic, say. So to do that, we need to make sure that we're storing and recording our sort of like conversation history in a way that's agnostic to different LLMs.
Filipi, welcome to Pipecat TV.
Yeah,
How are you?
that's the first time after, I guess, like more than 4 years that we are all working together, and yeah,
Cool.
it's really cool.
All right. So favorite feature in Pipecat
I
or
think
in
like
Pipecat
for
1.0?
1.0, I think we have like introduced async function calls and also allowing multiple responses for the same function call. So these are like kind of related feature, which are nice, because the LLMs by default they don't provide a way for you like to have like async function calls. So with that, like it's possible like you just ask for a function call that's going to be like a long running task, and then you are able like to keep talking with the LLM while like the function call is executing in background. The way that we need to do that, we need to work around like this LLM limitation, because like for the LLM, we need to return the result right away, but then we inject like some kind of tool call ID, and later we inject like new developer messages to the context with the same tool call ID, so the LLM can know like which that's a new result from a previous tool call. And the challenge on that was like to get like the right prompt and the right tool call like description, so the LLM can be aware that it's going to receive one or multiple results from the same like tool calling.
How many things, that would have previously fallen under like traditional engineering are now also in large part prompt engineering, right? So it's like
Yeah.
a lot of these tasks are like, okay, how can you frame things correctly for the LLM to actually do what you hope it will do 99% of the time.
We're ahead of the real-time LLMs too. So we're doing things in real time with LLMs that we want the LLMs to be doing. So we do think over time that's going to shift,
Yeah.
interaction through text. So we're kind of adapting and really acting as glue here. So it's pretty amazing.
All right, Mark, you're up.
All right. So for me, both the favorite parts and challenges fall on the speech input side of things. I think it's one of the last unsolved problems in voice AI. Even to today, it's not a solved problem, but we're finding ways to get better and better. My favorite is something, I mean, of course, I'm biased and also recency bias. I worked on this, the filter incomplete turns logic. So we had work done all of last year, and it still continues with the smart turn model. And that looks at the audio conversation to figure out when, based on the audio, signature of the bytes, like when is a user done based on analysis of what they say, but it's lacking the context. And we thought for the longest time that we would have to train a model or do something fancy, but it turns out that we were able to actually just use the core inference to just encode a response into what the main LLM, like speech LLM, was responding about, something other than just the voice response. So we were able to piggyback on that idea and to have the LLM add a determination of whether the user is done speaking or not. So it acts as a second tier of defense where we have a few defenses. You have the VAD that detects, when mechanically the user is done speaking. You have Pipecat has its own turn management, which can be static and just be timeout based, or it can be dynamic through something like a smart turn model. And then after that's done, you can then use the context of the conversation, the actual, if the user may have said a complete thing, but they, like a complete sentence from a, grammatical standpoint, they may still have more to say contextually. So this is where it adds in a whole other layer, and it's something I'm pretty proud of because it's, again, we're trying to build this natural interface for humans, and it's just really tough to know when we're done. I guess the biggest challenge is we're getting to this point where it was really challenging, and you can look at the changelog from Pipecat to see, like, we started with, I guess the VAD was probably added maybe 2 years ago. We did a bunch of experimentation even before Pipecat, and the VAD was huge because it was a very reliable signal for knowing when mechanically someone was done speaking. So it was the iteration of working through all of the problems that led us to where we are. And, I'm not sure what will be next, but I know, there's always requests for like the back channeling, being able to detect that, or have the VAD maybe be even smarter. So I can envision there being additional models or additional ways to hijack the inference, or like overload the inference for additional things. But
I really enjoyed the framing of that, of like, there's like layers of knowing when it's time for the bot to respond, right? Like there's mechanical, which is VAD, right? Like literally did the voice stop going? And then there's grammatical, like is it a full sentence, which is the sort of the turn analyzer. And then on top of that, there's the like in context, did the user actually probably finish uttering what they were going to say? So it's like higher and higher levels of abstraction, but like you need them all, right? Like you stack them all.
I thought it would be, to be frank, I thought it'd be solved by now. I think I told people a year ago, I said, yeah, this won't be a problem in 12 months, but it turns out, I think it's going to be a problem.
LLMs. So I guess my turn, which Mark has touched a little bit, which is how we got into the user turn strategies, which we added a few releases back, maybe in 0098 or 99. At the beginning, with the VAT, that was the only signal we used for interruptions. It didn't solve when the user stopped talking, only when the user started talking. And then we introduced the smart turn analyzer, which is a turn detection model. Now we had the VAT analyzer, the smart turn detection in the transport. But people wanted more things. We introduced a concept called interruption strategies, and we put also that in the transport. So the transport was a bag of things, mixed things between interruptions and turn detection models. So it was a mess. So in 0098, we introduced the user turn strategies. And the user turn strategies are something that can be custom for the user. So a developer can implement their own strategies. And you have two types of strategies. You have the start strategy and the stop strategy. The start strategy, it's how to detect when a user turn starts. And that could be VAT, for example, or it could be something else. And then the stop strategy is when the turn is done. So we have decoupled this notion of VAT, smart turn, interruption strategy from the transport into this new concept that is the user turn strategy. And it's my favorite because it took like 2 years to get to this point. Like we did so many mistakes,
So many things. Remember the
so many
emulated
things.
speech events?
And
Oh
then
my.
yes, emulated speech events. We had so many. We had to go through so many things to get to this point. Another little one that I really like, as you know, Pipecat has these observers, which is like something that you attach to the pipeline, and you can observe a pipeline, like what's going on, the frames that are being pushed or processed from all over the pipeline. So we added a way to create your own observer or attach your own observer from the outside without the need to touch your code at all. So for example, if you use Whisker, which is our low-level debugger, instead of having to attach Whisker in your code every time, you just set up an environment variable saying, hey, this is a file where you can do more stuff or set up more things in the pipeline. It's a very minor thing, but it's very, the developer experience is very nice. I think Mark likes that a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, as you were talking about that, I was realizing how much I love Whisker.
I
don't
also
know if
wanted
any
to shout out
developers
Whisker.
haven't tried this. I mean, it's definitely down to the frame level. It's a frame, you can observe the frames from the pipeline. But
Yeah, if you want to debug like the Pipecat core team debugs, check out Whisker.
that's right.
In the next episode, we have a couple of things that we really, really want to talk about. One is Pipecat Sub-Agents, which is a new framework that we have built recently. It's a framework to build agents with Pipecat very easily. In this agentic world, we believe there's going to be a new way or new kind of applications that people will build. And Pipecat Sub-Agents allows you to build these applications very easily. And one example, which is going to be another episode, will be Gradient Bang, which is an amazing video game, voice native and LLM native. And I think that's it. The only thing we need for next time is more t-shirts for Paul and Filipi.
Till next time.
Happy hacking, everyone, and bye-bye.
Happy hacking.